Hi guys, welcome back. So a few days ago I posted a video on building relationships in any industry, and I had a few people ask a couple of questions as far as the video was concerned, and there's just one thing that I'd like us to talk about today, which I realized is a common fear for all of us. And one of those things is the inability to actually build, or the confidence, I think the confidence is the right word, the confidence to actually build the relationships. So a lot of us actually struggle with approaching people or being around people and just generally building relationships or starting a conversation from scratch with somebody that you've never seen before, somebody that's not your friend, somebody whom you probably have not even been introduced to, and which is what we were talking about a few days ago about building relationships. Now, what I realized was that a lot of people struggle with that mainly because there's a certain level of expectation that you put on people in life in general. So for instance, if you walk in a building for an interview, you're most likely going to be nervous talking to the person that's interviewing you versus the cleaner at the building, right? Because you feel that you are a little bit more above the cleaner, but you're not above the person that is interviewing you. So we tend to really feel very uncomfortable or cringe or probably lose a bit of confidence when we are approaching or speaking to people that we assume or that we think that they are high above us. And there's a certain level of confidence that one needs to have for that. So what I realized is that, and I think this used to happen to me a lot when I used to walk into rooms and just really feel very inferior because I feel like, oh, everybody in this room is so successful and I am not, and what will I really talk about? And a lady asked me a question on Instagram and she said she tends to overthink things a lot when she's meeting people and just she doesn't really know what to say and she gets a little bit more nervous. And I even responded to her and I said, the thing that you need to realize is that you overthink things because you don't feel confident about what you talk about and who you are. And it's a personal thing really, getting into that. And also I want you guys to understand that building relationships is not something that's going to happen overnight, okay? This is something that really takes time, it takes practice, it takes a few mistakes, but it's something you definitely need to start investing your time and yourself into. So what I advise for people who are really struggling with building relationships and approaching people, I think you need to first start working with self, and working with self means getting to know you, getting to know what's your strength, and getting to know your niche. The important thing about getting to know your niche is no one can say otherwise. If you are talking about financial literacy and you know that that is your niche, I promise you, no matter who says what to you, you are confident and you know, you've researched, you live and you breathe this thing. And that's where most of us get it wrong. We get into environments and we want to talk about what everyone is talking about. And sometimes what everyone else is talking about is not necessarily what's in our niche. And therefore, that's why you will tend to overthink things, because you know that you're not 100% knowledgeable in that particular subject, actually be engaging or trying to approach someone with it. So that is really important. Really realize what your niche is. And once you realize what your niche is, you're most likely to be very confident in. And one thing I'll definitely lead people to is back to the Word of God, back to the Bible. I always say to people that it's hard to know yourself if you do not know your Maker. I mean, if you did not have the choice to choose who your mother, who your father is going to be, where you're born, your height, your complexion, how pretty you can be, how dark you're going to be, how light you're going to be, what makes you think you're going to choose the type of person that you are? You know what I mean? We do talk about a lot of self-help when we talk about how you can dig into self and you're the only person that knows yourself. But the honest truth, guys, is the only person that actually knows you more than you know yourself is God. And you have to go back to that source. You have to go back to that. And the important thing to realize about going back to the Word of God and going back to God is you need to go back to God with the intention to know Him, because through Him only you will be revealed, if you get what I'm saying. The more you know God and His character and how He works, the more you know yourself, because the Word of God says we are created in His image. We are a reflection of who God is, you know, and that's where it really starts. And I feel that when you know God, you really get to a point where you start knowing yourself and you start knowing what your niche is and your purpose, the assignment that God has sent you. And the moment you know what your assignment is and your purpose is, it becomes so much easier to engage in any conversation or to just talk to people, because you know what you've been sent out to do. You're not trying to fit in and squeeze yourself in through the trendy conversations, but you're talking about what God has laid in your heart. And knowing yourself really gives you the confidence, and I think I've really stressed this enough, it gives you the confidence to really talk about the things that are niche to you, the things that God has placed in your heart, and the things that you and you only can speak to. And it really gives you the confidence to build the right relationships. I always say to people, not every relationship is worth building. You need a certain level of discernment. You need a certain level of wisdom to know that this relationship is the right one to build. And one of our greatest mistakes in our microwave hustling age is that we want to build relationships with every person who's on social media, with every person who's famous out there. And sometimes that's not the right way to go, especially if you're working with God, and especially if you're working with purpose and you have a clear vision of your assignment in that particular field. You'll be very picky about the type of people you build relationships with. So when we say go build relationships, we're not saying go say hi and go chat to every single person that you come across, but we're saying be strategic, and whichever relationship that you are led, or that you feel that this is a relationship you need to cultivate and be part of, you actually do it properly and you do it wisely. So I really, really hope that this kind of answers the building the right relationships and how to actually go about it. It starts with you. It starts with self. It starts with knowing what your assignment is. It starts with knowing yourself. It starts with knowing God, and really just getting in a space where you realize what your niche is and move with that. And yeah, I actually hope that this video briefly answered and inspired you to really just start working in your niche, getting back to God, and really getting comfortable in your own skin, getting comfortable in the conversations that you feel are your assignment, getting comfortable in learning, actually have a teachable spirit, okay? Get into environments, and sometimes don't walk in because you want to speak and you want to get an environment sometimes just because you really want to learn and you really want to, you want to hear, you want to soak in information. And that is actually one of the strategic ways that you can actually build relationships. So yeah, I really hope that this video was very fruitful for you guys. It actually was just a short one to answer the question that I found very common in most of the questions that I was getting regarding the previous video. So yeah, I really hope that you guys stay tuned for more videos to come, and that you guys are having a lovely day, and I'll catch you guys next time.